What up? So, you notice I didn't do an intro because we're going to get right into it. We're going to get right into it. But I'm still going to keep the formality. Hop over in the chat real quick. I didn't give y'all time to really prepare, huh? That's why you have to click that notification button, because you never know. You have to click that bell on YouTube. Stay notified. Solo 5000, peace and love. We see you. James, peace and light, peace and love. Baby girl said peace. Master, I know that's right. Master disciples. So y'all already know. Go ahead and get your pen and paper, man. Get your pen and pad. Let's get into these notes real quick. I'm super excited because I seen Dane had went off today. It might have been today. I just happened to come across this live or this post he made, and I got fired up. Islam, peace and light, peace and light, peace and light, rising Phoenix. So, like I said, we won't be here long, man. You got to bear with me. I'm in a little bit of pain today. My back is going crazy, like my lower back. So, send some love my way. I'm gonna try to get through this live in pain, but we're gonna make it happen. D Nice, what's happening? What's good? What's good? What's good? Chris, what's happening? Pharaoh, what's happening? What's good? Keeper of the darkness. What's happening? What's happening with your family? So listen. Yes, sir. Pen and pad gang in the building. Shouts out to pen and pad gang, man. If you're new to the channel and you're like, what the hell is the pen and pad gang? You never heard of it. Listen, man. Pen and pad gang been rocking with myself and on Chrome TV for a nice little while now. And they already know to get your pen and your pad. Let's take some notes. All right. Don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to convince or persuade anybody. This is just information. Do your own research. Peace. Yeah, I like seriously. I actually got one scheduled today at 4 o'clock. That's why I can't be on here long. Try to do some holistic healing, get a massage, smoke an ale, try to relax a little bit. Appreciate you, sis. So listen, as I stated, we ain't gonna waste no time. We're gonna jump right into this thing, man. I had seen this live, or this post rather, by the good brother Dane Calloway. Now, I'm not doing this live to perpetuate any type of hatred or slander at all. I think Dane Calloway does great work. First of all, I'm not on his tip about nothing. He does great work. He's one of the first brothers I heard kicking the information he was kicking about the indigenous population in North America. I had been studying it prior to Dane Calloway, like many others, but Dane was like the voice. Like he blazed the trail with the information that made us think a little bit different, that we may not be from Africa. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw this post today by Dane Calloway, it incited me, not excited, but incited me, like the insight of me. Wanted to hop on this live real quick and just echo what the brother's saying. Not that he needs my help, but I think that he does a great body of work. And just like many other scholars back in the day, like Dr. John Henry Clark and Chancellor Williams, Ivan Van Sertima, and Dr. Deborah Blair, and so many others, like this is the new generation. The Bobby Hemmitts. I'm not comparing Dane Calloway to Bobby Hemmett or anybody. I'm not comparing myself to nobody. I'm just saying, like, we are the ones that are ushering in the new information for the next generation. A generation from now may not, like, my daughter is 17. She's never heard of Dr. Ben Yokovic. She's never heard of Dr. John Henry Clark. Us at our age, we just heard of him maybe like 8, 9, 10 years ago. Like we're just get caught up. The 80s babies, y'all know who y'all are. Some of y'all 79, but the 80s babies, everybody in their late 30s and 40s right now, we're just catching up to the information. You have to understand that the baton was dropped in our generation for information. That's why when we look back over history, we see such great movements like in the 60s and 70s. We see what they call revolts and rebellions against the system, you know, generations prior to us, because they were still connected, still tethered to a certain sacred knowledge. And with chemical warfare and psychological warfare in the 80s, crack cocaine, and the removal of the Black warriors from the household, like, you should be up on history at this point. When the Pilgrims and the Europeans came to North America, the first thing they did was they attacked the villages while the women and the children were there. They separated the fighters and the warriors. In some cases, they would pull the male warriors, I'm talking about both in Africa and North America and Central America, the warrior class, which were the men, the protectors and the providers, they pulled them away from the village, and they would flank and send another regiment into the village to burn the village and capture the women and capture the children, sometimes killing the women if they're too old. So this has been attacked since 1619. This has been attacked since 1521. This has been attacked since they first came over here in 1492. So, you know, right. And one thing I'm not going to do is argue against the great work the brother's doing. I don't care how nobody feels about it, you know? And people like Crum, myself, and many others of our generation who are giving you guys this information. Like I said, the Dr. John Henry Clarks are gone. May he rest in power. We are ushering in the new age of conscious information through history and research and bringing it to you guys, you know? And in a few years, we're going to be the ones. They're going to be at an old age, like Dr. John Henry Clark and others, the philosophers and the teachers and the historians. So again, I just want to echo what the brother put out there. Not that he needs the help, but I'm not a hater. So that's that. On your screen, you'll notice, let me blow it up a little bit on my end. Give me a second. Oh, hold on. There we go. You'll notice a photograph of these individuals. They call them Aborigine. And I'm going to start with this point right here, just so I can take your mind out of Africa. Okay. I want to pull your mind out of Africa just for a minute. And as we go through these photographs, just understand that we're not in Africa right now. I just want to train your mind to look other places on the map. I just want to show you other places on the map of people, beautiful melanated people who look more like you, what you look like in the Americas. Their resemblance of who they are resemble you more than people from the country of Africa. Now, we're all beautiful people. They're articles. There are articles about these so-called Negro people of the Americas. There's artifacts, there's information of a darker hue people who were already here, and of those who came later. There is evidence that supports the notion that everybody's not out of Africa. And again, I don't care either way. But I just want to share with you guys, what if? What if? What if they've been lying to us the whole time and we're really from here? What if that's true? So I'm gonna go ahead and bring up this clip real quick that I saw of Dane Calloway going off, and then I'm gonna go show more receipts in lieu of what he said. But first, in other news, you guys are keeping up with the Diddy situation. That's still ongoing. I think Jaguar Wright and Orlando Brown Jones, what his name is, they did a joint together finally. This is for those of y'all who are interested in that type of stuff. Just keeping up with the latest news. Israel and Iran. It's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. So let me play this clip real quick, and then we're gonna kind of break it down. Where is it at? There it goes.
Listen. So this was very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity.
All right, hold on.
Colored. Listen. So this was very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity. Their identity on paper, their ability to describe themselves as Indian was not possible. To describe themselves.
And they made themselves Indian. To describe ourselves as Indian was not possible. Don't forget that the elites did that. They called themselves the elites. Don't forget, by way of eugenics.
Colored.
Listen.
So this was very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity. Their identity on paper, their ability to describe themselves as Indian was not possible. To describe themselves.
And they made themselves Indian. To describe ourselves as Indian was not possible. Don't forget that the elites did that. They called themselves the elites. Don't forget, by way of eugenics, they did that. They did that. That's it right here. I'm telling anybody that's doubting me, you know better now. You know better now. I'm telling you what's going on. I told you what happened. I'm not making this up when it's documented. God damn it, our people's identities were stolen. I'm trying to calm down. Our people's identities were stolen. We were told that we came from Africa when we were here this entire time. And they put themselves in our place. Purposely. That's why I said when there's people out there that's talking about white supremacy, y'all don't know what white supremacy is. Because you ain't going to the goddamn source. And here it is. You got to go to the source, y'all. I just need y'all to wake up, man. I need y'all to wake up. They just straight up took our identity and burned the records and gave the rest that they saved to the Mormons. The Mormons know who you are. That's why some of y'all Hebrew Israelites picking up their book. You know they talking about you. You goddamn right. You know they hiding the records in Utah. Wake up. When did we get the permission to take our records? They don't want you to talk about them because they scared that we gonna wake the rest of us up. That's why. And that wasn't that far ago. 1924. That was not that far ago. You don't even gotta go back to the pyramids or the mounds. We can stop right at 1924. And these bigots getting all the credit. Yeah, they know the history. You think they need to study this shit? You got another thing coming here. They know. Your ass the one that don't want to accept it. Well, that ain't happened in my family. Or we ain't talk about that. You ain't even asked your family. And every single one of us can recall that our ancestors said, or elders in the family said that we got Indian in us. You know that that was actually a thing? Seriously. Oh, girl, you got some pretty hair. You must got some Indian in your family. Turn right around and you ask grandma or grandpa, yeah, girl, yeah, we this, we that. Indian. It won't ever fail. You heard what I said? I said it won't ever fail. It won't ever fail. We are more Indian than anybody. We are the indigenous people. We are the Niji. This is us. It ain't nobody else, because ain't nobody else get misclassified more and reclassified more than us. Nobody. We got misclassified, reclassified over and over. Nobody, that's not telling you nothing. But if we was Africans, then how come they ain't put us down as Africans? Let me say this loud. How come they ain't put us down as Africans day one? I'm gonna say this again. Hold on. Let me back up and scream. Maybe you didn't hear that. Hold on, let me bring this up. Hold on. How come they didn't bring us and say, okay, we're gonna mark you down as Africans day one? I hope you can hear me back there.
Man, bro went off. And this is the video I was talking about. Now, I know for some of y'all, it's like, oh, he really didn't say nothing. He said a lot. Okay. Bro said a lot just then. And what I want to do is continue to echo this idea that this may be possible. And the only thing we continue to hear about is the same misinformation about how you were brought here from Africa. And it's like nobody's talking about there was a whole entire situation that's not being taught in school. And supposedly the only way you got here is by way of the slave trade. Supposedly, this is the only way. This is the only way that you got here is by way of Africa. Well, let's take another look at something real quick. So, European enslavement of Native Americans. As always, I want you guys to always keep in mind the date of which I'm showing you. So write down the dates. Be sure to write down the dates. That's the first thing we have to do, is learn how to track the information in chronological order. And this is your first time listening to me teach. The audience already know that this is not for entertainment purposes. This is for educational purposes only. So this is more like a classroom. Okay, so there are no fireworks today. It's just information. I want you guys to consider. When Europeans arrived as colonists in North America, Native Americans changed their practice. Native Americans changed their practice of slavery dramatically. Watch this. Native Americans began selling war captives to Europeans rather than integrating them into their own societies, as some had before. Now, these Native Americans they're referring to, these Native Americans, let me get to a picture real quick. Give me 1 second. Because I want you guys to, we got to start identifying what we're talking about. That way we can qualify our thoughts. let me just show you some information on here real quick. And I always say the TP Indians. That's what I call them, because they were nomads. They were not indigenous people of North America. They just got here. So being that they were nomadic, they always slept in teepees. These are not the mound builders. These folks ain't got nothing to do with the mounds in North America. The mounds are already here. These people begin to capture and enslave the indigenous people of the land. And I can show you information of the supposed Buffalo Soldiers who were sent out west to continue fighting these individuals, known as Native Americans. And these folks just got here not too long ago. They have an entire separate history. But for some reason, well, let me not say some reason. I know what the reason is. Due to psychoneurosis, we've been brainwashed to think that we only come from Africa. That's the first thing. This is very true. And in fact, I think the CEO of 23andMe and all that shit, I think she got fired or resigned or stepped down or some shit like that, because it's all make-believe. They're not taking spit on a Q-tip and finding out what tribe you're from. Come on, y'all. Again, let me go back to these other photos real quick. You know what? As a matter of fact, let's just go here, because I already got it pulled up for this. Total different look. See, if you guys simply understood Dr. Mendel, okay, his principle is recessive and genetically dominant genomes. So everybody has already agreed that the so-called darker people of the planet were the original people on the planet, period, which means everybody else comes from them. We can agree at some point of our search, at some point, we know better now, when they told you that supposed Europeans mutated from so-called Negroes out of Africa. And they got trapped behind the ice. You never asked which ice age was that. Was it the worm ice age or the Goose ice age? Which ice age did those Europeans get trapped in Europe? This is how the story goes. And they lost their pigmentation over thousands of years for being in that region. And some kind of way, their hair no longer was kinky, coily, nappy hair. They have a whole nother texture of hair now. Their cranial structure, their nose became narrow, which means their bones morphed over a period of time. Their skeletals, like their skull, basically, because their nose became more alkaline because of the cold air. This is the BS that you believed. They gave you a story that they came out of Africa, genetically modified, which is a mutation, and they became so-called Europeans. So now you come to North America and you see the same genetic takeover. These dark hue aborigine, not aboriginal, these dark hue aborigine people of North America were and are the true so-called Negro Indians. And I'm using the word Negro because when the Spanish came and saw these people, that's the color they gave them. That's the name they gave them, Negro. Negro means black. These black indigenous people of North America. And let's go a step further, because I feel like I'm not landing my point. Let's go a step further. And we said this so many times before in this channel. In spite of your grandma telling you that you have Indian in your family, you still mentally kind of can't conceptualize that you didn't come out of Africa. Because this is what was taught. Melville Herkovich. Hold on. It's Melville. Hold on. There he is. There we go. If you guys truly believe that you're not from Africa or you are from Africa, I would just highly advise you go research Melville J. Herkovich, student of Franz Boas. Well, the whole Darwin theory shit is linked to Francis Galting, and it goes into eugenics, and it goes into genetic modification. These palm-colored people, matter of fact, if you can, in the chat, put up a hand for me. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Right here. These palm-colored people, YT, whatever you want to call them, these palm-colored people created the subject matter that you was out of Africa. They created the ideology that you was from Africa. Okay? Which sometimes I'm not going to lie. While I respect people like Dr. John Henry Clark and Chancellor Williams and many others, and I don't disregard their history. I'm thankful. Let me pull it up real quick. I'll come back to I'll come back to this right here. Chancellor Williams. For those of y'all not familiar with the elder Chancellor Williams. Chancellor Williams is one of those champion historians and scholars that you definitely should go study. He wrote books such as Destruction of a Black Civilization, The Rebirth of African Civilization, The Second Agreement with Hell, and so on and so forth. You have others. Oh, they got them lined up right here. Elder Renoku Rashad. Peace to the ancestor. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Sheikh Anta Diop. If you have, listen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Chancellor Williams, write them down. Because I know ain't nobody in the chat. I know y'all don't have all these books. Chancellor Williams, Renoku Rashad, John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Sheikh Anta Diop. You have to understand those 5 authors and historians. And Dr. Ben ain't even in there. I'm pretty sure he'll pop up as well. You're still missing, who we missing? We're missing about 3 or 4 other renowned historians. And the reason I bring them up, because a lot of African history is told from their perspective, but they're not the fathers of African history. See, here's a picture right here. So in this picture right here, you have Chancellor Williams, Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark. You want to familiarize yourselves with these 3 gentlemen right here. As much as you know who Dr. King and everybody is, you should know these 3 historians right here. Dr. Kwesi too. But here's my point to all this. You guys got him. Melville J. Herkovich. This guy right here is he's accredited as the father of African American or African diaspora studies, what later becomes the African study. Melville Gene Herkovich, and he's a palm-colored person. I'm not sure why I didn't bring his picture, his photo up. See if I can give you guys a visual of this individual real quick. Melville J. Herkovich. Damn it. Why is Google doing this? Hold on. Skynet. Brother Chrome called Skynet. There we go. There's the visual. Melville J. Herkovich. This is the individual that creates the study, not those individuals I just showed you. Dr. John Henry Clark, they're not accredited for African studies. And the reason I'm on the African studies so hard, because this is the mindset that we all have occurred, thinking that we're from Africa. I think a lot of us are coming around the idea that we may not be from Africa. You see what I'm saying? But Melville J. Herkovich, I know everybody has not heard of him. Maybe you have. Let's read a little bit of who he is. Sorry about that. My baby in the background. Melvin Gene Herkovich was an American anthropologist who helped to first establish African and African diaspora studies. What is African diaspora studies? In American academia. So he is the father of this shit. Like he creates it. He is known for exploring the cultural continuity from African cultures as expressed in African American communities. One more time. He is known for exploring the cultural continuity from African cultures as expressed in the African American communities. He worked with his wife, Frances Herkovich, also an anthropologist in the field in South America and Caribbean and Africa. They jointly wrote several books and monographs. Born to Jewish immigrants, Herkovich attended local public school. He served in the United States Army Medical Corps and France during World War I. So it goes on to say after he went to college, earning a bachelor's in philosophy at the University of Chicago in 1920. The 1920s is also a very intricate turning point too, as you all well know. He went to New York City for graduate, earning his MA, PhD in anthropology from Columbia University. Watch this. Under the guidance of German-born American anthropologist Franz Boas. That's important. Everybody from Prussia. It's called Prussia, Germany. Oh boy, I don't want to give away the information because a good brother put me on something else that I'm going to allow him to go into that part of academia. But I'm going to give you guys some homework real quick. The homework is I want you guys to look up the term Prussia. Prissa, I think it is. Prussia. Yes. It becomes Germany, but look up Prussia and type in education from Prussia. And that's why you see a lot of these German anthropologists, German scientists begins to shape the educational system of America through pseudoscience. Give me 1 second, man. Hold on. All right, sorry about that. Got to be a parent, try to get the information out at the same time. So this is Franz Boas. Why am I talking about Franz Boas or Melville Herkovich? I'm trying to attack the ideology of the education of what we've been taught out of Africa. No one has told us that we may be from here, North America. Franz Boas was a German-American anthropologist, and whatever that fucking word is, he was a pioneer of modern anthropology and has been called the father of American anthropology. That's who he is. His student, Melvin Herkovich, he studied how some aspects of African culture and traditions were expressed in African American culture in the 1900s. So they're trying to draw a connection between our culture and the African culture. This shit was taught in school. This was taught in school. In 1927, Herkovich moved to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, as a full-time anthropologist. In 1928 and 29, his wife, Frances Herkovich, did field work and surname among the Samaruk, then called Bush Negroes, and jointly wrote a book about the people. So they're basically going around Africa, Jamaica, and the islands, checking out lifestyles and habits and habitats of Africans, and then looking into the African American culture in North America and trying to assimilate that we're them and they're us. This is how deep this stuff is. And then we'll get back to the so-called Indians in a second. In 1934, Herkovich and his wife Frances spent more than 3 months in Haiti, Haitian village of Mirabelles. Is a community central part in Haiti, approximately 60 kilometers northeast of Port-au-Prince and National Roads. Okay, got it. The findings, which research he published in 1937 book, Life in Haiti Village. In its time, this work was considered one of the more accurate depictions of Haitian practice of voodoo. So now they're interpreting the Haitian religion of voodoo, and they're teaching it back to North America. So everything that the people in North America are learning, the so-called Negroes are learning about their heritage and culture, is being taught from palm-colored people. Jayana, get up here. That's who this is. In 1948, Herkovich founded the major interdisciplinary American program, African Studies. In 1948, Herkovich founded the first major interdisciplinary American program, African Studies, at Northwestern University, with the aid of a 3-year, $30,000 grant from the Carnegie Foundation. Carnegie Foundation. Write down Carnegie Foundation. The Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation becomes very intricate in the early 1920s throughout the 1950s, dealing with education. Now, I just gave you one earlier, Prussia. This is another jewel, Carnegie Foundation. Beside it, put down Rockefeller Foundation, or the Rockefeller, whatever the fuck they're called. The Carnegie and the Rockefellers in the early 1900s. It says the Carnegie Corporation of New York is a philanthropic fund established by Andrew Carnegie in 1911 to support education programs across the United States and later the world. I'm showing you this for a reason, because they're going to start to program our people through education about their affiliation with the continent of Africa and disassociate them with their affiliation with the continent of North America. Through education, they begin to teach them this information. And then later in the 70s, you're going to get the movie Roots. They give you the pictorial movie that you're from Africa, in spite of your grandma telling you you're from here. Followed by a $100,000 grant from the Ford Foundation. Yes, you're going to see the Ford Foundation. You're going to see many corporate entities involved in education because they needed more workers on that line. The Ford Foundation is an American private foundation with the stated goal of advancing human welfare. Human welfare was a big deal in the 1920s, the 30s, the 40s, throughout the 50s. During World War I and World War II, human welfare was a big deal. especially palm-colored people's welfare during the Great Depression and so on and so forth. It was originally funded by a $25,000 gift, so on and so forth. And you guys should understand the connection between Mr. Henry Ford and George Washington Carver too. Yeah, George Washington Carver, Henry Ford. Henry Ford and George Washington Carver. He and Ford experimented with different crops, including sweet potatoes and dandelions, eventually devising a way to make rubber substitutes from goldenrod, a plant weed. Carver died in 1943. Ford opened in 1947, but the relationship between their two institutions continued to flourish. What is the connection between George Washington Carver and Henry Ford? Agriculture, education. What did Rockefeller say about education? Rockefeller says, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, a nation of workers." I paraphrased it. In 1903, John Rockefeller said he wanted a nation of workers, not thinkers. Huge contributor to education. What did John Rockefeller do for education in America? John D. Rockefeller and his General Board of Education supported education in the United States. They're teaching. Hold on, I'm gonna take it a step further. I'm gonna take it a step further with education. Stay with me. So we have John D. Rockefeller, right? You got him wrote down. You got the Carnegie wrote down with education, right? Who else you think was affiliated with early education in America? I'm gonna show you, and watch how I draw it all the way back to education, getting you out of your mind thinking you're from America. Watch this. What school did General Howard found? General Otis Howard founded Howard University. Here he is. Founding fathers. I gave you Carnegie. I gave you Rockefeller. I'm giving you the actual institutions. Who founded Hampton University? There we go. Samuel C. Armstrong. If they didn't treat you right, they're not going to teach you right. Now, I showed you all the way back. Melville Herkovich, Franz Boas. I'm now showing you the institutions. Watch this. Here we go. You ready? Indian assimilating schools. Indian assimilation schools. Read this. Indian assimilation schools were boarding schools that removed Native American children from their families and cultures to assimilate them into white American culture. Come on, man. And those Indians assimilating schools, you know what they were? Yeah, HBCUs. That's exactly what they were, or what they became. What they became. I just wanted to show you how you got in your head that you were black and African American, from Africa, and all these things. All these things. That's all I'm attempting to show you right now. So you can begin to disassociate your mind from that nonsense. So you can get out of your cotton picking mind. That's my desire for everybody of color in North America is try to get out of the psyops. Try our best to get out of the psyops, man. To break free from the think tank. Indian assimilation schools. There were more than 523 government-funded and often church-ran Indian boarding schools across the U.S. in 19th and 20th century. Indian children were forcibly abducted by the government agents, sent to schools hundreds of miles away, and beaten, starved, and otherwise abused when they spoke their native language. It took your religion. It took your language. Now you may look at this picture and say, wait a minute, man. Hold on. But you may say to me, these are not Negro Indians. These are the Teepee Indians. Okay, well, let's follow the connection. Let's connect the dots. Now, this is called Indian Assimilation Schools. See? Take a hard look. They are teaching them your culture. Uh-oh. And every now and then, like this photo right here, see if I can zoom in this photo. Give me a second. If I can zoom in. There it is. Every now and then, every now and then, you see, you see us in there somewhere. But let's find a connection real quick. So we have Indian assimilation schools, right? We got that part. And you may say they don't look like us. That's not who I thought was in those schools. If we're talking about HBCUs, I didn't think that. Watch this. Howard Orphanage School. Now, remember, I just showed you Howard opening up Howard University, General Howard, and I also showed you Carnegie and Rockefeller and Franz Boas and Melville Herkovich, right? So the idea of an all African American institution, typically 90% of the teachers in those African study classes, anybody went to HBCU, typically the teachers in those classes are going to be a palm-colored person teaching African American studies at a HBCU. Although HBCUs their intentions were to teach agriculture and mechanics, to teach a more industrious class of people, like George Washington Carver. Institutions, agriculture. They needed workers. Rockefeller, I already told you, Rockefeller created the Board of Education. There's another individual I haven't named yet that played a huge part in the American education system. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to now draw the connection between those Indian assimilation schools, the Indian assimilation schools. I'm going to draw the connection for you between the Indian assimilation schools and HBCUs. Okay? Howard Orphanage School. The Howard Orphanage and Industrial School was an orphanage for African American children. Here we go. That operated in Brooklyn and Kings Park, New York. The Howard Colored Orphanage Asylum was founded in 1868 by Black Presbyterian minister Henry M. Wilson, a Black widow, Sarah H. Tillman, and a white general, Oliver Otis Howard. This is before Howard University. Let's read about it. Let's go read about it. The Howard Colored Orphan Asylum. And anybody went to HU. I don't mean Hampton University, because I'm gonna show you Hampton University too. I'm gonna show you both HUs. Howard University has a little dark past along with Hampton University as well. But remember I told you the Indian assimilation schools? Now I'm showing you the Negro orphanage asylums. I'm going to show you that at a certain age, after the Negro children were in the asylum, they then sent them over to the Indian assimilating schools as well. And this is before Brown versus the Board of Education and Integration. This is before integration in the 60s. This is way before that. They were creating a different class of so-called Negro, of people of color. And they were indoctrinating them with this out of Africa theory crap and stripping from them their indigenous knowledge of who they were. The Howard Colored Asylum was one of the few orphanage led by African Americans. It was located in on Troy Avenue, Dean Street in Weeksville. We talked about Weeksville several times, okay? Weeksville was a historic African American neighborhood in the early 1800s. I'm sorry, mid 1800s, before Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think right during the same time as Mound Bayou. And it's mighty fun. These people are supposedly from Africa. Why didn't they just go back home? Why would they start communities here? I don't know. I mean, it's so many questions. A historically black settlement in what is now called Crown Heights, Brooklyn. The asylum gradually deteriorated due to lack of funding and closed in 1918. So watch this. The history behind it: the Home for Freed Children and Others. This is what it's called: the Home for Freed Children and Others. Who are the others? Who are the others? Was founded in 1866. We already went through that already. General Howard. It was originally used for freed women who were new to the North as a place for their children while they searched for work. Their children was used as indentured servants to white and black families. The children in this orphanage were lent out as servants for a small payment, going to the child in return. While it had some financial support from white patrons, General Howard supported the idea of lending out black children to work as indentured servants while their mothers were working in factories up north, or as housemaids. Apologize for that. As housemaids. General Howard, Howard University, Oliver Otis Howard was okay with the fact that black babies were being lent out as indentured servants out of this orphanage asylum. Yes, this was the same time as the European orphanage train. Yes. And at the same time, they were transporting Native American children out of the West, out to the East Coast, to these schools, institutions. So you're talking about child trafficking. They trafficked so many children back then, it'll make Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein look like a fucking saint. They trafficked so many children of color. And they was using these institutions, these learning institutes, to reprogram these children. But hold on, I'm going to show you how these Negro children made it over to these Indian schools. I'm going to show you. For whom it was named, the orphanage was staffed and managed primarily by African Americans. Wilson was a member of the African Civilization Society. The African Civilization Society was organized and founded by Henry Highland Garnet and Martin Delany. Martin Delany was a bad mofo. Check him out. Founded in 1858 in response to the 1857 Supreme Court Dred Scott case. So it was a response to that. It was called the African Civilization Society. Go look it up. I won't go into it today. Which supported organizations in school for African Americans. This is the 1860s. In 1868, the institution finances were in disarray due to Wilson's mismanagement. Always. 1888, it was renamed Howard Colored Orphan Asylum and moved to Brooklyn by Reverend William Francis Johnson, who was a blind preacher who struggled with equal rights as superintendent. Under Johnson's leadership, the institution frequently obtained donations from black churches, black speakers, and coverage in the news, so on and so forth. Watch this. In the 1890s, the institution moved away from the indentured servant to train students in industrial education and prepare them for practical world of labor, business, and agriculture. but which would limit formal studies. This led to the Hampton Institute recommending that 4/5 of the students should be engaged in the institutional training, and Booker T. Washington was tapped to secure the funding. So what this just said was 1890s. Don't get too excited real quick. I'm gonna show you something real quick. In the 1890s, they now are sending these Negro children to Hampton Institute. What's the big deal? It's HBCU. Stay with me. HBCUs did not receive their grant money yet. So this wasn't an HBCU yet. Hampton Institute was not an HBCU yet. Watch this. It was called the Morrill Act. The second Morrill Act was 1890, also known as Agricultural College Act of 1890, which was for colored folks. This was the second Morrill Act. The first Morrill Act, the Morrill Act of 1862, also known as the Morrill Land Grant College Act, was a law established by land grant colleges in the United States and provided the first federal aid to higher education. Who was in these colleges in 1862 if the HBCUs didn't get their money until about 30 years later? Let's find out. Hampton Indian Institute. The Hampton Institute educated nearly 1,400 Native American students from 65 tribes from 1877 to 1923. That means before the HBCU land grants were given to Negroes, Negroes were already in colleges with these Native Americans. Well, they didn't say that. Okay, well, let's go take a look. Let's just go see. This is a picture from the Hampton Institute. Geez, I wonder what today's subject was. I wonder what the subject was that day in school. I wonder what they was talking about in class that day. As you can see, that's not all Negroid faces in that crowd, right? There are a couple other looking people in that crowd. These are integrated schools. Prior to Board versus Education, Plessy, Brown versus Board of Education, integration schools. This is before. This is not the 19 nothings. I'm sorry. This is the 1880s, 1877. This is not 19 anything. This is the 17th century in North America. This is not, I'm sorry, the 18th century. This is the 18th century. This is before integration. This is before the little black girl down in Alabama went to that school and integrated the school. This is before that. I wonder what they're talking about in here. See, the idea was to kill the Indian and save the man. That was a quote. Where was the quote, kill the Indian and save the man? This resource included full text. I'm going to for you guys to read it. This resource included full text from Captain Richard Henry Pratt's speech, in which he used the now well-known phrase to describe his philosophy of assimilation. Kill the Indian in him and save the man. The speech delivered in 1892 during the National Conference of Charity and Correction held in Denver. Kill the Indian and save the man through what's called assimilation. Did assimilation work? Let's see. According to psychoneurosis, and I'm going to keep shoving this definition down y'all throat until y'all memorize like the Pledge of Allegiance. The term psychoneurosis was coined in 1960 by the late Robert H. DeCoy in his groundbreaking book, The Negro Bible. What is it? What is it about? Psychoneurosis. It's an assimilated behavior. Psychoneurosis is a mental disorder affecting the spirits, personality, motives, and action of Negroes who have failed to rid themselves of the psychological ills they have incurred from their collective experience with foreigners. That's assimilation. Through assimilation. So the assimilation worked, did it not? The assimilation worked. It worked. You got our people thinking they're from Africa. The psyops is crazy. The psyops is mind-boggling. And if you're just joining us at the top of the hour, I basically went over Dane Calloway post that I came across. And because we're at the 200 people mark, we have 200 people watching right now. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to run that clip back one more time of Dane Calloway going the F off. I thought he went off. And I was adding a little bit more context to the education of how we've been educated, and we're not from here, and we think we are from Africa. Let's check out the clip one more time. It's about 4 minutes, so if you just joined us, if you've already seen it, just check it out one more time. After I just gave you that little bit of information, that was very little information about the assimilation process, of how we got brainwashed, not only out of our birthrights, but just who we are as people through education. Let's check out Dane one more time.
Colored.
Listen.
So this was very hard on Virginia's indigenous community because, in a sense, it wipes away their identity on paper. Their ability to describe themselves as Indian was not possible. To describe themselves,
and they made themselves Indian. To describe ourselves as Indian was not possible. Don't forget that the elites did that. They called themselves the elites. Don't forget, by way of eugenics, they did that. They did that. That's it right here. I'm telling anybody that's doubting me, you know better now. You know better now. I'm telling you what's going on. I told you what happened. I'm not making this up when it's documented. God damn it, our people's identities were stolen. I'm trying to calm down. Our people's identities were stolen. We were told that we came from Africa when we were here this entire time. And they put themselves in our place. Purposely. That's why I said when there's people out there that's talking about white supremacy, y'all don't know what white supremacy is. Because you ain't going to the goddamn source. And here it is. You got to go to the source, y'all. I just need y'all to wake up, man. I need y'all to wake up. They just straight up took our identity and burned the records and gave the rest that they saved to the Mormons. The Mormons know who you are. That's why some of y'all Hebrew Israelites picking up their book. You know they talking about you. You goddamn right. You know they hiding the records in Utah. Wake up. When did we get the permission to take our records? They don't want you to talk about them because they scared that we gonna wake the rest of us up. That's why. And that wasn't that far ago. 1924. That was not that far ago. You don't even gotta go back to the pyramids or the mounds. We can stop right at 1924. And these bigots getting all the credit. Yeah, they know the history. You think they need to study this shit? You got another thing coming here. They know. Your ass the one that don't want to accept it. Well, that ain't happened in my family. Or we ain't talk about that. You ain't even ask your family. And every single one of us can recall that our ancestor said, or elders in the family said that we got Indian in us. You know that that was actually a thing? Seriously. Oh, girl, you got some pretty hair. You must got some Indian in your family. Turn right around and you ask grandma or grandpa, yeah, girl, yeah, we this, we that. Indian. It won't ever fail. You heard what I said? I said it won't ever fail. It won't ever fail. We are more Indian than anybody. We are the indigenous people. We are the Niji. This is us. It ain't nobody else, because ain't nobody else get misclassified more and reclassified.
Yo, listen. Bro went off. I told you. Bro went off on there. So I just wanted to again, just continue to add value and continue to echo the sentiments of what bro was talking about. Listen, very, very, very passionate moment that I felt like I just wanted to take my hat off. And this thing we have to start to do in this so-called new wave of conscious community is to give brothers and sisters their flowers. Oh, that was a good demonstration. And what he was talking about was the Racial Integrity Acts of Virginia, which unfortunately misplaced a lot of tribes like the Pamunkey. What was the other tribe in Virginia? My homegirl, Natchez, out in Suffolk area of Virginia. I'll think of it in a second, but this Racial Integrity Act went into effect. You have to think, palm-colored people were so hard pressed about mixing their blood and DNA with us because they knew back then that they were being bred out. They're not going to last. So to further subjugate our people, they literally took our entire identity away. They took our nationhood away by stripping us through legislation, through this pseudo government, of our identity as the original people of the planet, first of all. And I hope to someday we'll get to a point where we can agree that this whole entire blue marble that they call Earth is ours anyway. Like, we're the first and never the last anything here. So these people that came after us, the argument is itself very, very finite. We're talking about who came first, who was here first, who came. Like, if we all can agree that we are the original people, inhabitants, then the conversation stops there. But unfortunately, there's still people talking about that we're not from here. So I'm going to continue to echo this sentiments. And shouts out to Chief Cali. People like Chief Cali who's doing the work, man. Big shouts to Chief Cali. And it's so many others that my mind won't let me think of everybody, but whoa, 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 whoa. Swanda Hoodwink second, you have to elaborate. You can't make a statement like that. You can't come on here and make a statement like that. Why would you say that? What makes you say that? What makes you say he's so full of poop, easily debunked? What part of what you have debunked that he put out? And I'm not coming to his defense. I'm just curious now. This is out of curiosity. Like, you came in the chat with the Jaguar Wright energy right now. Shouts out to Jaguar Wright, by the way. Jaguar Wright, Cat Williams, and everybody. But you came in the chat, Swindle, with the Jaguar Wright energy. Give us a specific situation, and what we're going to look it up. What did you hear Calloway say that was full of crap, and you think you can debunk what he said? Because I don't agree with everything he puts out, because I don't listen to everything he put out. But what I've heard of him so far, he'd be pretty much on point. Sometimes I wish he would go more in depth with it, but that's just me as a scholar. So tell us, the listening audience, all 200 plus of us, what has Dane put out that was full of crap that you can debunk? Just type it right in the chat, and I'm gonna look it up. Everybody's ready to hear what you got to say. She just straight hijacked the chat with that comment. I'm over here giving Brother Dane Calloway his flowers, and y'all make sure y'all share this too. Share this live. Tag Dane in this live. I'm trying to give Brother Dane his flowers, and sister just came straight in and said he full of crap. That's crazy. That is crazy. So here's what I do. Oh, they troll. Okay. They trolling. Okay. Because I got time today. That's the only reason I asked. Because I got time today. That's all. That's the only reason I asked. Because I have the time right now. Actually. Quick overview. Indian Removal Act. We're all familiar with the Indian Removal Act by now. It was in the 1830s. I'm not going to get into it too much. Andrew Jackson. 1830, Andrew Jackson takes the land from 60,000 so-called Native Americans, 18 tribes. 18 tribes. The movement westward of indigenous tribes was characterized by a large number of deaths occasioned by the hardship of the journey. The movement westward. This means that a group of people were coming from the east coast of America. Those teepee Indians are always shown out west, Midwest, Southwest. Pueblo Indians. Wigwam Indians. I'm not talking about them. They didn't get forcibly pushed nowhere until after 1849 during what's called westward expansion and the Spanish-American War and the Alamo and all that stuff. That's when they got pushed out, when Carnegie and the boys were building that railroad to go out west to get that gold. During the gold rush, what was called Manifest Destiny, that's when they got bothered by the Europeans. That's when that's when you get the cowboy and Indian movies. That's what they're doing, basically. They're setting up what's called homestead. That was way later. But this right here in 1830 forcibly pushed people out of Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas, parts of Tennessee mountains. It pushed them out and pushed them back out west. Indigenous tribes, they said. Now, this is 1830. 1830. If you want to find what indigenous people were pushed out in 1830, then let's fast forward 30 years. Okay? In 30 years, you'll get Special Field Order number 15. Special Field Order number 15 is going to tell you who got pushed out, because it's going to tell you who they asked to return back and tell you what territories they got pushed out. Special Field Order 15 was Union General William T. Sherman issued 1865. This is about 35 years later. So they had 35 years in this land that we call the Southeast region of North America. The order was to redistribute. That means give back. See, had it said to distribute, that's a first time occurrence. Hey, distribute them their umbrellas. Redistribute their umbrellas. You mean give them back their umbrellas? Yeah, that means to do over. Like, again, they redistributed the land back to the original people. Let's see who they said they were. They want to give back 400,000 acres of land to who? The Teepee Indians? No. The Dakota people? No. We're going to give specific people we're giving this land back to. There's a specific group of people that we're giving this shit back to. To the free black families from South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. I can show you the map of the Indian Removal Act. It's the same territories. So now they're giving it back to those same individuals. This is 1865. This is a few years after the one drop rule.
According to Wikipedia, the one drop rule was illegal.
Now, they're going to reclassify you according to your black ancestry. You mean those people that just came back from Oklahoma who got put out in the 1830s? Yes, those tribal people, indigenous, they said indigenous, those indigenous people who got put off the land in 1830 by Andrew Jackson and got asked to come back in 1865, those are your people. Not all of us. So the Racial Integrity Act says, wait a minute. The one drop was a legal principle of reclassification that was prominent in the 20th century. That's the 1900s. That's about 38 years after 1865. Okay? This is in the same, just like Dame just said, we don't have to go back to the mound builders. The mound builders, Mississippian culture, the Clovis culture. We ain't got to go back that far. We can do some very recent homework. Very recent homework. Very recent homework. Within the last 4 or 5 generations. Homework. Very easy. It inserted that any person with even one ancestor of black ancestry. Black is a racial classification of people, usually a political skin color based category for specific populations with a mid to dark complexion. Not all black, not all people considered black having dark skin. That's certain countries. But out here, when they say black ancestry, they're talking about you. Now, some kind of way, they affiliated the black ancestry, which is the skin color, to your blood. What they're insinuating is if we pull your DNA, we can identify what you are. If I were to put a glass of white people blood in front of you and black people blood in front of you, from your naked eye, you probably could identify which was which. It's 2 bottles of blood. I don't know which is which. Luckily, through science, certain chromosomes, certain DNA factors qualify some people to be dominant versus some people to be not dominant. Genetically, it's considered black, Negro, or colored. It is an example of the hypocendent in societies that regarded some races or ethnic groups of people as dominant or superior, others as subordinate or inferior. Hypodescent refers to the automatic assignment of children of mixed union to the subordinate group that opposes practice is hyperdescent. Now, one more time, hyperdescent, which is really what the Reclassification Act that Dane was talking about, which is called the one drop law. What they're saying, this is an example of a hypodescent society, which automatically relegates the darker hued child to the lesser group, which is a subordinate group. The superior group, one more time, hyperdescent refers to the automatic assignment of children of mixed union to the subordinate group. We got that. But this was already in play. So this Racial Integrity Act or one drop rule really just echoed something that was already in play. I can never think of the word. Hold on. What act in America? Hold on.
According to Wikipedia, the ACT is a standardized test used for college admissions in the United States.
Hold on. And I always forget the name of this shit. What act made the child take on the slavery of the mother? I poorly there it is. So the Racial Integrity Act basically is a remix of Partis Seclorum Vitrum of 1662. The act which made, this is dealing with slavery. One is dealing with the inheritability of the DNA, the one drop rule. And I'll go back to show you that again. But the act that made children inherit the slave status of their mother is called partus seclorum veterum. See, this never went away, which was a legal doctrine established in the Virginia colonies in 62 and later adopted by English colonies in Americas, essentially meaning a child born to an enslaved woman would automatically be considered a slave as well. Partus seclorum veterum. So this is happening. Black Christian codes. (1724), not the Black Christian codes of the 1800s. This is earlier. To regulate relations between slaves and colonists, Louisiana Code Noir. This is the original name for it. Code Noir. Noir means black. Okay. Or slave codes was introduced in 1724, based in large on the Code of Compiling of 1685 for the French colonies in the Caribbean. Its 55 articles regulated the status of slave and freed blacks. There's two different classes of people, slaves and freed blacks, as well as relations between master and slave. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this due to the fact of partus seclorum veterum, the black codes. After the Civil War in 65, some states passed the black code, severely limited the rights of black people. Now, by 1865, these so-called black people, now formerly known as Indigenous Americans or Native Americans, by way of 1790 census.
These pictures should match.
The 1790 census, which now gives the status over to Europeans as being not only Americans, but being classified as white Americans in the 1790s. So what I'm showing you is a linear timeline through education or miseducation, a linear timeline of genetically, a linear timeline of how paper genocide and documents, how you've been literally stripped, and we haven't got to the religious part, stripped of your nationality and who you really are, and compared to the United States. You are the indigenous people. This is what I'm tempting to show you. Oh, she came back in the thing. So, Mr. Calloway, where is your settlement location? Oh, you're talking about people buying land. I thought you was gonna. Calloway stated there's no records of slave ships. Google it, found it. I will pay for Calloway DNA test. There are no records of slave ships. Well, time out, class. As I always teach my people to focus on the second Atlantic slave trade. Because I'm not going to say there were no slave ships. Were there ships only being built to carry human cargo? Absolutely not, Swindle. They were not just constructing ships to carry human cargo. I do believe they had cargo ships. And if they had room on the cargo ships, they would definitely transport human cargo. They would definitely transport human cargo. Okay, because, and Dan Swindle, I have to ask you, which slave trade are we talking about? Are we talking about the slave trade that brought the Africans out of Africa to Central and South America, or the second domestic slave trade in North America, or the Pacific slave trade of the people out of the Philippines into California, or there was a third slave trade? There's a different couple of slave trades we can talk about. So, and I'm making that point to say that there were no slave ships, I'm not going to agree with him with that. And I never said I agreed with him, but to your point, John Hawkins was the first contracted slaver. So John Hawkins is considered one of the first Englishmen to actively participate in the transatlantic slave trade. So yeah, there were slave ships, essentially pioneering English involvement in the practice by transporting enslaved people from Africa. I would think that would involve some type of sea vessel, making him the key figure in early development of the triangular trade system. Therefore, the statement John Hawkins was the first contracted slavery is largely accurate. So he was the first contract. He was contracted by Queen Elizabeth. You see that? Some of his voyages were even backed by Queen Elizabeth I. And the fact that she was giving him money was to severely throw off the slave trade of Spain. Spain had it on lock since the 1500s, since 1492, actually. So I can't sit here and make the statement that there were no slave ships. I can't do that. But thank you for definitely circling back with your opinion about Mr. Calloway's research. I definitely appreciate it. You guys know I want you guys to be able to express yourself on this channel. Don't feel intimidated or feel like you can't say the fuck you want to say, because I don't get on like that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion and what they think. Everybody's entitled to what they think in their opinion. Everybody is. No matter what your opinion is. Maybe she reached that conclusion based on what she researched. Maybe she needs to do more research, or maybe Dane should do more research. And that's my whole thing with this conscious informative era that we're in. Nobody is absolutely right. There's thousands of years of information, and we all are like puzzles. So as my grandmother used to say, eat the meat, spit the bone out. And that's why I always tell y'all, don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to convince or persuade any of y'all. A Dane Calloway motto is, I'm just here to make you think, which is a great motto. My motto is, don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to convince or persuade any of you. Go do your own research based on what I'm telling you and draw your own conclusion. Then it becomes something you know, not something you heard. We're basing our shit on what we heard too much. I heard so-and-so. Did you go research the shit? Did you go bring back the facts? Facts supersede predictions. Facts are more reliable than opinions. Facts always win the argument. And we don't have to be so combative or such competition about this information. This is going to be an ongoing process, family. They lied to all of us. Hear me out. They lied to all of us. They lied to everybody about everything. How many of us really thought Columbus discovered America? We was like, what, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7 years old? There was a couple of things we thought for sure. We thought the Easter Bunny laid eggs. We don't know how. He's a fucking mammal, or she's a mammal. Mammals don't lay eggs. We thought for sure that this fat white dude came through the whole sky on one night and gave everybody these presents. And you knew like he had this God ability to just know what you were thinking through naughty or nice. We thought that for sure. I don't care what you say. At some point in your life, you was 2, 3, before you became conscious of the fucking lies, you thought this. Okay, so let's just cut the malarkey. You wasn't just born woke. Okay. And we also thought that Columbus discovered America until we learned different. So my point is, we always think a thing until we learn more about that thing. Which is why over here on Crumb TV, we encourage everybody to think. That's why we have master students. I'm a master. I'm forever learning. I don't know every fucking thing. It's too much to know. It's so much information. Nothing's absolute. So take what you can get from me, from Crumb, from Dane Calloway, from whoever you listen to. Just take it with a grain of salt and go do your own. Maybe they missed something. Maybe there's more to it that you can see, because it's all going to be based on your vantage point or your perspective. So now the point I was making about the 1790 census, at the same time of the 1790 census, they had what was called 1790 Naturalization Act. It was just quite convenient to have the first census in 1790. At the same time, they were naturalizing themselves as Americans. These foreign people. It says right here, I'm going to read this paragraph. Okay. It says right here, to be the eligibility, you have to be free white people who had lived in the U.S. for at least 2 years, demonstrated good character, and pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. No, it says, and pledge allegiance to the Constitution, were eligible for citizenship. This is when they became citizens. in 1790. They've been here since 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia, talking about the Europeans. Now, Spain been here before that. The Spanish colonies didn't work out too well in North America, so they resided in Central and South America with their colonies. But the colonies of North America since 1619 that we know of, and it wasn't until 1790 that they became, they established themselves as citizens of America, which now deems them as Americans in 1790. But the point I'm making is it was really quite convenient that this was happening at the same time you had the 1790 census. So now on the record, after they naturalized themselves, they then form a record, a census record, to make themselves Americans. So they're now still in your identity on the record, for the record. 1790 census, write that down, and write down 1790 Naturalization Act. These are not the same things. They happen at the same time, same year. 1790 Act sets the new nation's naturalization procedures. It limited access to U.S. citizenships to white immigrants. This is important. They gave themselves citizenship in 1790. They didn't go through a process. They didn't have no goddamn passports. They didn't ask permission. They didn't get nobody told them they can do this shit. They just did it. You understand me? They just did the shit. White immigrants, you see it. And just like those millions of so-called immigrants in our nation, if they all got together and lobbied Congress for some type of action plan, some type of legislation, they can make themselves citizens under an act. This is what the Europeans did. My point is how conveniently it was they became citizens the same year they created the fucking census. Let's look at the census real quick. What category did the 1790 census have? The category in 1790 was free white, all other free persons, and slaves. That was it. Those are the only categories. The only categories. You want to know what else happened around this time too? Watch this shit. Johann Friedrich Blumenbacher creates the word Caucasian.
According to Gilder Lehrman Center for the Study of Slavery, Resistance, Yale University, white people are called Caucasian because Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, 1752-1840, an influential German scholar in an up-and-coming German university, chose the name on the 11th of April 1795 in Göttingen, Lower Saxony, in what would become Germany.
From Prussia. You get your first Caucasians or white people in 1790. Before 1790, there was no such that they didn't even exist. Just like you can get the word black before a certain time period. This is not even an etymology. This is just according to American history. In his outline, History of Mankind, 1785, German philosopher Christopher Meiners first used the concept Caucasian race in its wider racial sense. Meiners' term was given a wider circulation in 1790 by many people. Isn't that convenient? Johann Blumenbacher was one of the first to explore the study of human being and an aspect of natural history. His teachings and comparative to anatomy were applied to his classification of human race, of which he claimed were 5. He done created 5 races. So before the word race, there was no race. It had to be created first. The idea of this yellow man, red man, white man, this shit was created. You mean the red Indians? You mean the light-skinned Native Americans? You mean the black Americans? Y'all crazy. Y'all stop talking crazy. This shit was created conveniently all in 1790. That's the point I'm making right now. And this is before 1889, 1922, eugenics. This is before eugenics. This is the, oh boy, this is the creation of the American Negro. There was no American Negro. You were all native indigenous Americans. You were already here. Think about it. Okay, let's not think about it as Indians dancing around fire as a tribe. Let's not think about tribe. Before the Europeans came to Africa, upon exploitation of Africa, when the Europeans got to Africa, Europeans had already agreed when they got there that these people have been here a long time. They will be here before us, which makes them the indigenous people of Africa. When they went to India, they saw darker people there. Oh, they went to Australia, the Melanesian Islands, Hawaii, Philippines. Every place the European went, they saw people of darker hue already there. And they already said that they've been there. Why is it when it comes to North America, you don't think that you already been here too? Why is this the only territory you don't think that way? Why is North America the only territory you don't think that there were darker people already here on this big ass island too? Every island this European went to, he saw people of color and had already agreed. Scholars, white scholars already agreed that those darker people probably been here for a long time. We don't know. We're just going to call them Aborigine, which means from the beginning. They just came with the planet. Africa, same thing. Everywhere. Why is it only in North America that you don't allow your mental faculties to think, to fathom, to just imagine for a second that even in North America, there were darker skinned people already here? Just like everywhere else they went on the planet. Shit. That's why everything they deal with is dealing with race, genetics, and psychology. Because they can't destroy you. They cannot destroy you. You're indestructible. That's why it's taking so many lives and so much time. This is why it has taken so much time and so many lives and so much misinformation and miseducation. This is why it's taken so long to try to eradicate. They can't because it's in your DNA. You're already pre-coded and preloaded. Your destiny is tied up in the history of America, to quote Dr. King. Your destiny is tied up in the destiny of America. Why don't you believe that? What's causing you not to believe that? After talking about out of Africa and studying who created the subject of African American study, who created this information. Like I literally showed you the Melville Herkovich. What caused you to think you're not from here? And now you're not hearing shit go around that America's really Egypt, that America's really Africa. Like America's really that old. I say we fact check. I say we fact check everybody. I say we fact check the notion that America's older. Okay? And I say we look at the damn animals. How about that? How about we look at the animal kingdom? Because we can't call animals don't go by race. Let's go by animals. Now, any other day, cheetahs in Africa. Any other day, you can just look up cheetahs in Africa. And you would be hell-bent on thinking that cheetahs are from Africa. Just based on the fact of how you was taught. Like you just taught the cheetahs from Africa. Nobody taught you that cheetahs are not from Africa. Let's just see what they say about cheetahs. They say what they are. The cheetah was first described in the late 18th century. 4 subspecies recognized today are native to Africa and central Iran. An African subspecies was introduced to India I'm emphasizing the word subspecies. That means they're not the original species in Africa. These are cheaters. Cheetah, what's called a cheetah. Cheetahs are originally from America. Cheetahs are originally from North America. Cheetahs are originally from North America. Yes, and so are camels and horses. So when they showing you Africa, ask yourself where they originally come from. A cheetah originated in North America and migrated to Africa 100,000 years ago. So we have animals originating here in North America and they're migrating over to Africa. So how did these animals migrate over to Africa? That's just a question for the family. The island of Mu. Of course, they're going to jack it up. Now, let's take a look at this migration pattern. If I can find the, here it is right here. Look at this migration pattern. Nothing is coming out of Africa, coming over this way. Everything is going all over here. And it says Negroid. Why am I showing you this map of Mu? And you can say Mu is, it's gone. It's not even there anymore. Right. But the smaller remnants of Mu is called Hawaii and the islands. That's just like the pieces left over from the island. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that migration of something coming out of America going over into Africa. I figured you should see a migration pattern of something going over there versus everything coming from there going over here. That was the whole point of showing you guys that. But as he also said, camels are from America. Camels are from America 44 million years ago. So 44 million years ago, we had animals migrating from America. That means they were originated in America. The origin was, and these are not fucking dinosaurs, by the way. These are not dinosaurs. These are just, this is a camel. Camel's not a dinosaur, is it? From what they showed you, reptiles were dinosaurs. They didn't show you, they showed you the woolly mammoth, maybe. But they didn't show you any of the animals that were 44 million years old. The camels are 44 million years ago. The camel came from America and went into Africa. God, 40 million years ago. Million, not thousands, millions. The ancestor of the modern camel migrated to Eurasia across the Bering Straits around 7 to 6 million years ago and to South America across the Isthmus Panama around 3 million years ago. Camels came into existence about 11,000 years ago. Keep that time frame in mind. Mississippian culture. Keep that same time frame in mind. I'm going a little too fast. Just say slow down. Let's tie it together. The Mississippian culture was a Native American civilization that flourished in what was now called the Midwestern, Eastern, Southeastern United States. Y'all know I always talk about the Southeast. Virginia down to Florida, over to Louisiana, Arkansas. That's the Southeast region. A lot of action happened down there and what's called the Confederacy. The Confederate States. From approximately 800 to 1600, varying regionally. It was known for building large earth platform mounds. This is the Southeast region. We're not talking about Chahoka Mound up in Illinois. Although I can show you how the Chahoka Mounds up in Illinois, those individuals who were known as Oshitush are part of the Wichita Nation out of Louisiana, Poverty Point. Because that river from Illinois came down to Mississippi, which is the Nile River. the Nile River, known as the Nile River. You see? And other shaped mounds, it was composed of a series of urban settlements and satellite villages linked together. So that means the big ass mound up in Louisiana, that's the Chahoka mound right there. You see right there. These other mounds in the southeast, down in Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, you see that? Parts of Florida, those mounds were part of a bigger network, a loose trading network. The largest city was Chahoka, or Cahokia, believed to be a major religious center located in present day what's called Illinois, because that was a tribe. The Mississippian way of life to develop Mississippi River Valley cultures and tributaries of Tennessee River Valley may have also begun developing characteristics at this point. Almost all dated Mississippian sites predates 1539. Why 1539? This is when DeSoto came over, and you'll start seeing places like Florida, Georgia, Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, that all belonged to Spain. That was Spanish territory. It was called Florida. All that shit, everything I just called was called Florida, or Floridian. All that territory. All of it. Alabama was Florida. Mississippi was Florida. Georgia was Florida. Under Spanish rule. They're saying before DeSoto came, before the Spanish came, before Spain came over here, with notable exception being Natchez community. These maintained Mississippian cultural practice into the 18th century, the 1700s. When I just showed you, 1790, we start getting wiped out on paper. And it's interesting, they named the Natchez Indian, or Natchez tribe, sorry. They talk more about those platform mounds. This is the Mississippian culture. This is a whole civilization, thriving civilization. That's the Mississippian culture. Fortified towns and small homesteads, grew corn, built large earthen mounds, maintained trade network, had powerful leaders, and shared similar symbols. That mound is going to be in there. These are the original mound builders. These are the people who got put off the territory. Remember I told you in 1830? Indian Removal Act. Watch this. Look at this map. Look at this map, everybody. Screenshot that map. Watch this. Watch this. Screenshot this map. Why is the Indian Removal Act and this map looking the same map? It's the same map, first of all. Let me correct myself. The same region. All those little green spots are mound villages, cities, towns. One is smack in the middle of Georgia, like Atlanta. These are energy centers. These are our energy centers connected to the big energy source in Illinois on that river, Cahokia Mound. These individuals were pushed out. Who is in these territories? I told you before, these are the Yamacraw, the Yamansi, the Gull, the Gullah, and we recite those tribes so eloquently, but have we did our research on those tribes? Have we really researched those tribes? Do we really know that there were colonies prior to 1619 in North America? Do we really know? Do we really study this information? But you know what else happened? Let me tell you what else the fuck happened in this get woke movement, or this woke movement, or whatever, conscious this conscious community, what happened? The RBG Negroes slid in and started back preaching that you were from Africa again. So on top of those individuals I showed you earlier, Melville Herkovich and all those European scholars who created the subject of African study, then you have people like Marcus Garvey in the 20s pushing this Africa agenda. It was an agenda. Even when you look at this map and you see this was the same map as the Indian Removal Act, this is the same map of Special Field Order number 15, the reinvitation or redistribution of the land back to the Negro tribes who've been cultivating this land since this era. The land is cultivated. They got towns, societies. Everybody want to talk about what's the monolithic buildings that used to be Tartaria. Everybody's mentioning Tartaria. Anybody talking about where the fuck Tartaria came from? If these individuals, there were no bulldozers back then. The same way we marvel at the fact that how the pyramids in Egypt were constructed, the weight of the bricks and the sand and where the bricks come from, and we should be marveled at this same shit, the mounds. They didn't have a bulldozer. How did they get the mud up like this? How did they get the land up like this? And these things were huge. These one of them fucking anthills. These things were huge. How big were they? Cahokia Mound. Let's just read about how big they are. This is for all the Hotep folks who just so infatuated with Egypt and the Egyptian pyramids. And no slight, just facts. Cahokia Mounds are pre-Columbian Native American city directly across from the Mississippi River. I told you the Nile River, aka the Nile River. This is the river that fed the nation and continues to feed our nation. This is the river that they pushed during the Indian Removal Act. It said they pushed these people beyond this river off the land. The state archaeological park lies in the southwestern Illinois and East St. Louis, Poinsville. Let's see how big these things are. Where is it at? Hold on. It gives the actual dimensions. Then I'm gonna show you something else that you may not know, because you may, again, like the African culture is so saturated in our brains. When you say the word pyramid, our minds immediately go over there to Africa. Our minds go to Africa automatically. We say the word pyramids because you don't know what type of pyramid this is. This is a special kind of pyramid. It's going to tell you at its base. Here we go. At its base, it's bigger than the pyramid in Giza. Cahokia was the largest and most influential urban settlement. And but one group of people I know they refer to this day as urban people. Urbanware. Used to be called the ghetto, and then called it urban. All the urban people. I know urban can also refer to a particular geographical area, but urban typically is affiliated with your Mississippian culture people, your darker skinned people, your original people of North America, which developed advanced societies across many of what is now central and southeast United States. Tartaria, when did Tartaria start? Who started building that shit first? Beginning the 1,000 years before European contact. But the point is, I'm showing you this is affiliated with the Mississippian culture. Now let's do this real quick. let's go here. Oshitush, which the French commonly refer to as Washita. See right here? Their name pronounced as Washita by English speakers. The spelling Oshitush, which pronounced as Washita. They're part of the Caddo Confederacy. Monroe, Louisiana. And a lot of y'all already heard this shit before, but I have to re-emphasize and hopefully try to connect the information. Because sometimes when we hear shit over and over again, or we hear it explained differently, sometimes, oh shit, now the light bulb clicks, or now you get it, or you just have to be reminded. So, hey, listen, family, with the 2-hour mark, man, I appreciate y'all. I could keep going a little bit longer, but listen, the Cash App is at the bottom of the screen. Feel free to drop a donation. If you have been encouraged to learn anything today, I appreciate it. It is 224 people watching currently, plus all those who will watch this a little bit later. Let's do a $2 challenge. I call you on it. $2 challenge. If you felt inspired to learn anything today, shouts out to Crumb TV, man, for providing the platform. And again, I'm just here trying to help tie it all together for the family. I love you guys. I love the fact you guys support everything I got going on. Everything Brother Crumb has been putting out over the cases. We appreciate you guys so much, man. And it does take some energy to hop up here on a platform and teach for 2 hours. It's not the easiest thing to do to keep one's attention beyond an hour, but you guys do a great job. You guys are all master students and disciples of the information. I appreciate it. Again, $2 challenge. I appreciate y'all. Let's read this real quick though. The Washita Nations were headed by Vertice Hampton Golson. You should definitely look her up. And thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. Thank you for the donation. The Cash App is dropping. Thank you guys. She was mayor of Richwood, Louisiana from 1975 to 76 and from 80 to 84. She is the author of the book called The Return of the Ancient Ones. If you have not got this book yet, do yourself a favor. Go get this book, Return of the Ancient Ones. The Goldstein asserted that the United Nations registered the Washita as indigenous people number 215. They're registered by the United Nations. They're recognized among the nations of the earth as the oldest civilization in North America. Washita, Oshitush, ties and connection to the Mississippian culture. And I think that if the Mississippian culture is that old, and camels are from here, and cheetahs are from here, I would speculate that you probably should go look a little bit further back in the history of North America. Because if you just found out today that cheetahs and camels and horses come from America, and when I say pyramid, your mind go to Egypt and you see camels in Egypt. If the camel didn't come from there, how old are those pyramids? That's all I say. But again, because of the education system, watch this, American dollar pyramid, we tend to think that for whatever reason, let me pull this thing up. For whatever reason, they would go out of their way to provide you a picture of an Egyptian pyramid on your currency. Hold on. Let me get my screen up some. Reshare my screen. They're showing you the great empires of North America, but because we don't know how to affiliate, these are our pyramids on our currency. They wouldn't dare put a foreign nation's symbol on our currency. We're making any sense. Let me just get rid of that eye. See that eye is distracting. You see how I cut the eye off? The eye of providence. No, the eye is gone. Because that eye distracts you. That eye is there to distract you. What you looking at? I always feel like somebody's watching me. They watching. That eye over that pyramid represents God, Government Ordnance Department, or gold, oil, and drugs. That's the insertion of their empire, is overseeing this empire. I took the eye off because that pyramid is your pyramid. It's not supposed to have an apex on it, like over in Egypt, Eucupta. Yours not supposed to have a apex on it, because see, your pyramid is what they call something else. Let me show you your kind of pyramid. Thank you for the donation. Thank you for the donation. This is your pyramid, truncated pyramid. This is your pyramid right here. This is called a truncated pyramid. This is a different type of pyramid that you didn't learn about in shul. Well, the ziggurats are step pyramids. The ziggurats, somebody put ziggurats in the chat. The ziggurats are what your boy had in the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel, supposedly, that, but the ziggurats show up in the Middle Eastern territory, or what they call Middle Eastern territory now, or Mesopotamia area. These right here, these truncated pyramids are found in North America. The association of truncated pyramids. Let's see what a truncated pyramid is. A truncated pyramid or cone pyramid that its part is left when the cone or the pyramid is cut off by a plane parallel to the base and the apicable part is removed. It's called a truncated pyramid. Mounds of North America. Let's take a look at them. See? Flat top. Flat top. Truncated pyramids. Pyramids. All over America. See? This is America. And the mounds are so old. Those pyramids in Egypt are new. In comparison to time, they're new. And this one right here is bigger than Egypt. Or big as. They're as big as Egypt. Egyptian pyramids. Okay? So, anyway. That's your pyramid on $1. And you're not from Africa. And you're not a bunch of African booty scratchers running around trying to figure out who you are. All right? You're not that.
Mandinka? What foodstuffs that you talking about? That's African. I ain't no African.
Well, I'm Mandinka. We're proud people.
And I'm American. I was born here. My mammy and my daddy was born here. And my daddy's daddy. I ain't no African.
Come on, y'all. So listen, man. Thank y'all again for tapping in with your boy, man. Rhyme with me for these 2 hours. I gotta get up out of here, man. Get my meds in. Again, the donations at the bottom of the screen, $2 challenge. We have learned anything today. I felt inspired to go research now. You know, feel free, please drop a donation. I appreciate you guys. Anybody gonna watch this a little bit later? Definitely. Appreciate the love. And other news. You guys hear anything else about the Diddy situation? Feel free to. I did a video on this already, but go under that video and drop a comment. Drop a comment if you're keeping up with the latest and greatest about the Diddler. Oh, let me show y'all something real quick. Listen. I promise you. I promise you. After this, we'll go. But listen, I didn't know. Watch this. What is a diddler? A diddler. Did you guys know what a diddler was? Research what a diddler is. A diddler. And this lady on TikTok broke this shit down the other day that it's kind of like this right here. Like when I broke down the whole shit with Peter Pan and all that stuff with Pan and all that kind of stuff, right? Go look up the term diddler, the god Pan. And
according to Wikipedia,
the association with a diddler like the Pan and Peter Pan and R. Kelly, the Pot Piper, man, go look this stuff up, man. It's fucking mind blowing. It's like some I don't know how to explain it. I can't explain it. I'm still looking into it, but it's mind blowing. And I'm not sure what's gonna happen to Diddy. What y'all think gonna happen to Diddy? You gonna give him 100 years? They're gonna roast him. They're gonna burn him. They're gonna feed him to the fucking fishes. It's just interesting. It's like live TV. It's like a live reality show. Even if you're not into it, you can't help it because it's every fucking where, right? And I think Diddy gonna get a lot of time in jail.
You gonna see a bottle of this laying on your bed, baby oil. You gonna be like, who put this in my cell? Ain't nobody gonna say nothing. You gonna come through the next day after another bottle. You have somebody want to do something, come to me face to face. I'm a man. I'm all that old. Then one day you gonna walk up, somebody gonna pop you in your head, knock you down, tie you to the bed, take your shorts down. Whoa. Put that stroke it all up around you, rub your cheeks, rub it in. Pause, please. Get in back of you and hunt you.
They said that.
And you can hear what that baby oil makes noise, man. It makes that. You can hear that. You can hear the cheeks popping like bacon in a skillet. No, man. Baby oil makes it juicy, man. And boy, when you come, the booty man. I'm still the booty man. Ain't will ever be a booty man.
Let me. Shouts out to Diddy, man. Hold it down, Diddy. Don't drop the fucking soap. But I hear that shit is like deeper than rap. Like they got evidence of child trafficking and all kind of crazy shit going on now, man. But listen, go to that video on my YouTube, the whole video on it, and drop a comment in that video, man. And as always, oh yeah, I heard about that. It wasn't even baby oil, it was some DH something, some crazy stuff. Thanks for tapping in, man. Appreciate y'all. Hit the Cash App if you can. Appreciate you guys again. MOI signing off. Peace and love.